April 16th, and it is the last game of the season for a lot of teams tonight in the NHL. Most importantly, the last spot in the playoffs is available tonight between the Montreal Canadiens and the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll see what happens if that is decided tonight. If not, tomorrow, the Columbus Blue Jackets will take on the Islanders, and then the spot will be decided. But guys, welcome to Puck Time. As usual, we're here live on WagerTalk TV. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, Don Buster with me to break down three games. We're going to look at Canadiens, Hurricanes, Red Wings, and the Devils. Take a look at the Knights and Canucks for our three games. Best bets at the end of the show. Buster, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Andrew, considering we didn't get what we wanted last night in the one game, although I had a good night, won the customer appreciation game, put my record in Major League Baseball best bets to 11-1, so I'm happy about that. 2-1 with the hockey. You had a good night with the hockey, I believe, as well. So everything else went well for us, except for, unfortunately, we did not get the Philadelphia. Geez, that Greaves is playing fantastic hockey, is he not, for Columbus? Wow. Can't even get the puck by that guy. Crazy.
Well, it's amazing because we always talk about how important goaltending is for a team, but it seems like every year there's like a third, ranked guy or on the depth chart or even fourth ranked guy that just comes out of nowhere and starts playing well. I think about every playoff year, there will be a guy that was the backup because the starter got hurt and he ends up taking the team to the promised land, or even a third stringer. So, hey, you need to have a good goalie, but you also need to have good goalie depth, I guess. And right now, this Graves guy is doing really, really well. So we don't want him to do well in the next game, though, Buster. But hopefully it's decided tonight. We'll try and keep our biases aside, though. But let's jump right into it. We'll get to some promotional stuff during the show. A lot of good stuff to mention here today at WagerTalk.com. But let's set it up. Hurricanes and the Montreal Canadiens. Now, Buster, historically, the Canadiens have not done well against the Hurricanes. It's not been good when these two teams have gone head-to-head. However, taking a look at the line for tonight, it's clearly indicative of the fact that there's going to be some guys out there for the Carolina Hurricanes that aren't usually out there. And there's going to be some guys getting rest that would be playing if it was a meaningful game for Carolina. I personally think we will see money come in on Montreal because people are going to read those reports, as they usually do throughout the day, realize younger players are playing, and they will react the way that they usually react. Now, yesterday was an example with Calgary, and that was my best bet on the show, where I wanted to play Calgary. They're playing good hockey already, and they went into that game against Vegas. What happened? Well, they went down early. They had to crawl back. The overtime was electric. They ended up winning that game in a shootout. They needed that game. They end up winning it, but it still didn't matter. What do you think here for Carolina? I mean, I still think, because Carolina didn't play their best game, I'd say, in their last game, this game is still going to mean something to them. This is not going to be an easy victory for anybody here, despite the younger players being in play. What are your thoughts on the current number we're seeing, Buster? Because I'll tell you what, the biggest bet of the day is knowing that the number you and I see right now on this game is not going to be the same number in 5 hours from now.
It's funny, Andrew, how you mentioned about that Calgary game, because this is very similar, because Carolina did open up like at 1:30. And when we were doing the show with that game, with the Calgary game, Calgary ended up being a favorite. I think you put it out at like 110. It was maybe a pick. But around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Vegas went back to being a big favorite until they announced that Stone wasn't going to play and Hannafin didn't play. And then it turned right back around for Calgary. But this is going to be a pretty good game. And I'll tell you right now, Andrew, I was looking just before we got on the show here, that daily face-off with the lineups. You know what? Carolina only has one guy out. I'm because they play in Ottawa tomorrow. I don't know if there's maybe some kind of grudge between these clubs. I'm trying to think of the history way back, but watch who's going to be playing. See, a lot of times though they do it very late, but Carolina might play their full team. They've been playing terrible. I think they've won one game in the last 6 or something like that. So they might want to make an example here and say, okay, we're going to go all out for this game. I don't understand why, because you go all out. Montreal hits people. That's one thing. They're young, but they hit people. You see them out-hit teams all the time. So to me, Brind'Amour can't have that thought process of playing guys. I'm just hoping that the reports are a little late, that they, and then come this afternoon, you'll see a whole bunch of guys out like you do with the Oilers tonight. Like I don't think half anybody's even playing for the Oilers. We had looked at their list there. So big game for Montreal. 120 of the lay in the line 120. I actually like the total here, Andrew, at 6. They've played 2 games. They split 2 games this year with their full teams. Montreal won at home 4-0, and Carolina won at home 4-1. So there's a couple of unders there. I like this game to play under because I think it might be a tight game. I know we've seen a lot of games even yesterday, all during the last week, that there's a lot of pond hockey, and there will be again tonight in most of the games. But I just think the way this game sets up, Montreal is going to be nervous. There's no doubt about that. And it all depends on what Carolina brings tonight. If they're playing their full team, we're going to hope for a back door. I'll tell you right now, because, it's going to be really tough. Because even if you're a player on Montreal, think about that, Andrew. And you think, okay, you know what? They're going to rest some guys. We're at home. We're good. And then all of a sudden, Brind'Amour says, we're going to play the whole team. Ugh. So let's just hope that Brind'Amour decides that, you know what? Let's save all these guys for the playoffs. They got a good matchup in the first round, and they're looking to get a cup. So for our sakes, Andrew, let's just hope Montreal can win this one. We get in the playoffs, and who knows what can happen there. A lot of number 8 seeds have won a Stanley Cup. Believe me, I was around for a few of them.
It's all about getting in. It's all about getting to the dance, and then you can start dancing and see what happens after that. As you mentioned, Buster, 1-1 with the season series, 4-0 and 4-1. But long term, we have seen 3-0 Carolina, 4-1 Carolina, 5-3 Carolina, 3-0, 4-3, 6-2, 4-0, 4-0. This Carolina team has had their way with the Montreal Canadiens. But one thing I'm going to say is that the Canadiens this season have actually stepped up in class better than they've actually played against lower tier opponents. If you think about it, after the Four Nations break, or even after New Year's, their schedule wasn't easy, Buster. In fact, it was actually easier to start the season than it was after the New Year break. They had that Florida double against the Panthers and the Lightning. They win that one. They had that stretch where they beat Colorado. They beat Vegas, some real tough teams. For some reason, as a young team, I've been saying this all year. You know what makes good teams great? Not the ability to always beat other good teams, to never have a letdown spot. We're always making fun of teams like the Leafs because they used to lose to the Coyotes. Well, you know what? A good team like Tampa Bay and a good team like even the Vegas Golden Knights, they love to punish teams. But one thing I can say about this Canadiens team is they seem to actually perform better lately against better teams. They swept the defending Stanley Cup champions this year, Buster. That's impressive. That's impressive. And, they've got a better record this year against them than they do against the Columbus Blue Jackets or the Buffalo Sabres or some of these teams where you should be taken care of and you should be getting the job done. So with all that being said, you like the full game over, Buster. For me, I'm going to stick to the first period over. I hit that in the last game for the Canadiens where they played against the Chicago Blackhawks. They went up 2-0 in that one. Whether it's been low score in favor of them or in favor of their opponent, we've seen fast starts to the Canadiens games so far, the past couple games, especially at home. Wouldn't shock me to see a 1-1. Wouldn't shock me to see a 2-0. Let's not forget, on Sunday, the Hurricanes did lose 4-1, so this is a meaningless game for them. You got some young players coming up. I like the minus 125 first period to get the 2 goals. I like that one here. I hope for your sake the full game goes over, Buster. But what I've seen a lot in these types of games is that we see a burst of energy in the first 10, 15 minutes, and then both teams kind of hold hands and sing Kumbaya and lock it down like the 86 Devils for the next 25 minutes of the hockey game. I hope we see goals all throughout, but let's not forget the Canadiens need 1 point. Because they got back-to-back overtime loss points in their last 2 games, they need a point of any sort in tonight's game, and they make the playoffs. So that's why I'm specifically going with the first period over. But I would not be shocked to see a ton of goals in this game, Buster. That's for sure.
Well, Andrew, I think you must have misheard me because I actually said I liked it under, or maybe I'm just a little too excited about this game coming up. Who knows? Maybe I did say it, but I do. No, I'm pretty sure I said I liked it under. But again, with the Montreal game and everything, yeah. So I actually do like it under. But again, I'll have to go back through the tape and see what I actually said. I might have actually misspoke and said over. I don't think I did, but I might have. But yeah, let's get your over. Let's have Montreal win 4-1, and everybody's happy. How's that?
Well, I apologize, Buster, about that. Well, you know what? I think that works out because, like I said, I think we're going to see goals early, and I think we're going to see a defensive game after that. So I didn't want to go head-to-head with you in any way, and now I'm not at all. We're actually sort of on the same page. I think we'll see goals early on, and then we'll see defensive play. We saw it yesterday a little bit with the Columbus game versus Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia got shut out. But if you notice, like, there were so many chances early on, and then it's just a trap after that, right? They just hold on to the lead, right?
Yeah, it's, you know what, Andrew, if Carmine was here, he'd have those XG numbers or whatever all that analytic stuff is, which I really don't follow at all. Probably telling you, saying that the score should have been, 4-3 or 5-4 or something like that, the expected goals or whatever, because believe me, I watched that game almost wire to wire, and they had tons and tons of chances. If those two teams were playing again, like say if this was mid-March or mid-February and they were playing again, I'd have that circled maybe even for a 5% over because they'd come in at 5.5 maybe or something, right? That game. Yeah. That game could have been totally different. That Greaves made a ton of like point-blank saves. So, but anyways, yeah.
All right, we got to get to the next game. I could talk everybody's ear off about this game forever.
Yeah, I know.
Just want to point out that some of the point props that they're showing there, Demidov is once again listed at plus 105 to get a point for tonight, which is a bit interesting. Lane Hudson, minus 130 to get a point tonight. But as we know, Buster, most of his points anyway are assists, so he's minus 110 to get an assist tonight. And some of these younger guys that have been playing pretty well for the Carolina Hurricanes, Jackson Blake is only minus 120 for a point. And a guy like Jack Roslovich who's been playing pretty well for them, he's plus 135. Yeah. But I got to say, I mean, it's hard to go against betting on Demidov once again at plus 105. It really is. Sometimes people are scared to buy into the hype on a player. The guy got a goal and assist in the first period of NHL hockey. I got to buy into the hype with this guy with plus 105 with Demidov. I think he'll get a point once again here. But I think it's about the big guys. I always talk about depth, but I think it's about Caulfield. It's about Suzuki. It's about the main players stepping up in this big game. So let's look for goals early on, and then we'll try and look for a defensive game after that. How about the Devils and the Red Wings game, Buster? Because this one is kind of it's a time of year when we're on puck time, and we just can't wait for the playoffs, right? I mean, there's a few games we could spend more time on. Fortunately for us, or maybe unfortunately, the first game we're excited as fans. And it's a meaningful game for the team and for the NHL and for content purposes. This game is a bit different. Red Wings and Devils. I'll ask you this. Do you think the Red Wings, as people say in the UFC and fighting, do they go out on their shield? Or do they fold? This Red Wings team seems so defeated is that I know that we could say, oh, well, the Devils know who they're playing. But for the Red Wings right now, they seem so deflated, Buster. Could we bet on them tonight?
I actually think you could bet them on them tonight, but I don't like that number. They're a 130 or 140 favorite. Like that, that's that's kind of tough. Although New Jersey come home after they win in Boston in overtime last night, but it's the third game in 4 nights. It is their last home game for New Jersey, right? But again, they're going to get to play in the playoffs. It's a little bit different than maybe Vancouver, who has their last home game, and that's it for their fans. Have a feeling defense here tonight, and I think Detroit. I'm pretty sure Detroit has won. They won in Tampa, and they've won their last 2 games. They beat Dallas as well. So I actually think they got a good young club. I've said this all along. They're missing goaltending. They're missing a defensive guy maybe, and maybe a little bit more offense. But they got a great young club, and I think you're going to see a lot of goals today. I think this is a wide open pond hockey game because New Jersey's not going to play defense. Third game in 4 nights, and they've been playing some overs. And I just can't lay the 140 with Detroit. I mean, Detroit might be the play here because of New Jersey's bad spot. But I really just don't like the line. Bottom line, I don't like the line. That's for sure. So to me, this game, I don't know. Maybe Detroit wants to go out and they've won the 2. Maybe they play again tomorrow in Toronto. So that'll mean something. There's a lot of guys who they always still want to play in Toronto, even though if the game would mean nothing to the Leafs. Playing in Toronto is always a big thing for all these guys, these young guys for sure with Detroit. For me, Andrew, I like the over here. The 5.5. There's tons of value with that 5.5. The 2 games that they've played, both have gone over 5-4 and 5-3, and the totals have been 6 and 6.5 in those 2 games. Now I get a 5.5 with a New Jersey team that don't care at all, really, and a Detroit young, hungry team that's saying, okay, who needs points? Who needs incentives here? Who's going to score some goals so you can make an extra $100,000 or you make an extra $250 for your goal? I think Carmine even mentioned on one of the shows last week, or maybe it was early this week, that one of the guys in Detroit, maybe Larkin I'm not sure, needed 1 more goal to reach 30 or something. So there might be something to play for the Red Wings for sure. I really like this over. It's similar to the Utah St. Louis game of last night, where I gave my customers that over like about 3 a.m. I did the same thing last night, as I wasn't sleeping too much last night, worried about this Montreal game. I don't know, it's just the fan in me. I should be able to sleep like a baby. I shouldn't really care, but I do, because I am a fan. I've been a fan for way too long. half a century I've been a fan of the Montreal Canadiens. So anyways, I like the game over, Andrew, 5.5. I would maybe, if Detroit was a pick, I'd take them, but yeah, I think over the 5.5 is a play.
I can't argue goals with you in this one, and especially with the 5, and especially with the number here, especially with the busy schedule for the Devils. Buster, I'm going to go ahead though, and I'm going to lock in this Devils team to get the job done. Even though I've seen the Red Wings have success lately, they have had a couple good wins lately. When I think about this Devils team, like if I were to ask you, out of every team in the playoffs right now in a playoff picture, who needs to go in with the most momentum, I would say the Devils are at the top of my list. With the injuries that they've dealt with the whole Jack Hughes stuff, with some defensemen, with just the inconsistencies of their season. People are talking about the first round matchups, how we've pretty much known for the majority of the season that Washington had the Division 1, right? So it was pretty much going to be Carolina and New Jersey fighting over home ice advantage. At least in the Atlantic Division, we didn't know who was going to have home ice. We didn't know if Florida was going to win the division. We didn't know if Toronto was going to win the division or not. But when I see this number open up, -115 for Jersey, and I take a look at the Devils here, and before yesterday's OT victory, they lose 1-0 to the Islanders. They lose 4-2 to the Penguins. They lose 7-2 to the Boston Bruins. Yeah, this team's going to be tired. This team is going to be a little bit fatigued, but I don't think because they're in the playoffs already, that will take away from their focus at all. I think they get the job done here. I think they show up for this one. I think you're right about Detroit showing up against Toronto. But I like this number. It's a near pick'em price. I'm going to lock in the Devils. I could be flat out wrong. The third and four nights could just make it very difficult for the Devils in this situational spot. But I think if there's one playoff team that I think needs to go into the playoffs on a good note with momentum and feel good about themselves, it's the Devils. So for a team like Vegas yesterday, even though the game, they were up and the game went to overtime and shootout, and I was fortunate to win that Calgary bet, this feels different, right? Because the Vegas one didn't really mean much to them, but they're just resting guys, making sure they're healthy, going to the playoffs on a good note. The Devils need to rack up some wins. So I understand the Red Wings are out, the Devils are in, but this is a game that might not mean much for them, but I still believe the Devils here will get the job done, and they've been creating a lot of chances lately. They should be feeling positive about the fact that they scored so many goals last night, and hopefully they can carry it into this game tonight. So I'm going to lock in this Devils team. Not sure if that will make my official client card or not, but it will be a play that we'll be sprinkling on, that's for sure, tonight to really test this Devils team. I'm going to say this right now, Buster, and we don't want to give away client plays and things like that, but I'll tell you what. People are writing off Carolina because of the whole Rantanen thing. Remember, how it just didn't work out with them. He wanted to go away, and then all of a sudden they had nothing. They lose Martin Necas. They lose Mikko Rantanen. The only person they got out of that whole trade was Taylor Hall. What a joke. People are writing them off, though. If you ask me right now, I
wouldn't write them off, that's for sure.
Yeah, they deserve to be the favorites that they are. So I think the Devils are in tough against Carolina, so they got to end this season off on a good note. Tough. I really do think that. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, I understand. I understand where you're going with that, Andrew. And they are really tough. I looked at the line. I thought you might be able to get a good line on Carolina. They're minus 245 as a series favorite. Yeah. That seems pretty crazy to me. That's I really like Carolina myself. I think they are a good team. They've been just kind of going through the motions until the playoffs start. Brind'Amour is that way. And like I say, I just hope he sticks to the type of guy he is tonight and sits half that team. But only time will tell.
We will see. We will see what's going on here. Before we jump in to the last game that we're going to break down, I want to mention that it is Fill Your Cart Day at WagerTalk.com. This is a great opportunity to get involved with anything, whether it's a 7-day, 30-day package for all sports, whether it's Buster's baseball, whether it's my baseball, whether it's our CFL for the summer, even though that's a little bit while away, whether it's the NHL playoffs, whatever it might be. But here on PuckTime, we'll put emphasis on the NHL playoffs because, Buster, whether it's round bets, whether it's player props, and I didn't give out one player prop all year this year in the NHL for clients. I will be doing that, though, in the postseason. The promo code, guys, is BASKET25. BASKET25. Fill your cart day at WagerTalk.com. You're going to get 25% off of any package that you choose. Sign up today for Don Buster's playoff special. Sign up for my playoff package. You guys will get every one of our sides totals, team totals, round predictions, any futures that we release during the postseason. You guys will get 25% off with promo code BASKET25. So honestly, it's a weird day at the website because we're not really telling people to buy daily picks. We're encouraging you guys to join us for a little bit longer of term, 7 days, 30 days, whatever it might be. The playoffs start on Saturday, and I cannot wait. I got a spot on my couch just waiting for me to watch those games, doing my work all week, prepping for these postseason games. We know what most of the matchups are already. I'm already really deep into my work for these postseason matchups. Basket 25, guys, 25% off of a package of your choice. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the last game, Buster. I'll throw it to you for your thoughts on the Knights and Canucks.
Yeah, Andrew, another game that doesn't really mean anything at all. Vegas had a game, but they gave it up to Calgary, and we're both about that as we gave that the show yesterday, taking Calgary. Back-to-back for Vegas. Again, not sure who Vegas is going to have in the lineup. They didn't have Eichel, Stone, Hannafin, Pietrangelo yesterday. I'm going to assume that they won't play again tonight. And I'll also assume that maybe even a bunch of other guys won't play for Vegas, especially being on that back-to-back. You know, you don't want to cause any injuries. They're sitting pretty nice. They've got a really nice club. They get what I believe is a pretty good matchup in that first round against Minnesota. So don't see them wanting to go all out. They actually played like a great game last night. I was shocked. They really outplayed Calgary without all those guys. So all that tells me is that they might be very dangerous this playoff season. So again, we'll have to see about that. Vancouver's playing their last game at home. I always kind of like that for a team that really didn't have a great season. They didn't have the season that the fans expected. So they're going to want to go out and put on a good performance tonight. They might get lucky with Vegas not putting in most of their players. So I actually like Vancouver here. It's a small price at $115. I mean, like I say, with the game meaning Bill played last night, so you won't see him in net either. Again, I like Vancouver here to win this one. That will be my play in this game. I'll just run by the total. Really, all three games have went under the 5 this year. So people looking at that. But again, because of the way these games have been going of late, you know, I'm just going to pass that total. Vegas I know they have dominated this Vancouver club. They beat them all 3 games. This is a whole different game. You can throw all that stuff out. Give me Vancouver. Pass that total for sure. I'm going to take Vancouver at a small price.
Buster, I'm right there with you. I share a lot of the same thoughts. And I think yesterday, you know, when I took Calgary, I kind of felt the same way, the same handicap here as I feel in this situation. A little bit different, of course, because Calgary was trying to make the playoffs. But this kind of motivation spot here for Vancouver is just playing at home is their kind of motivational reason. But look at that number. Depending on where you shop around, you know, it's a little bit different, kind of fluctuating, kind of which spot really has the favorite. I'm looking at a lot of spots still right now do have actually Vegas as the favorite. The funny thing is, though, some spots right now, I'm seeing Vancouver, even if the game is a pick'em, Vancouver minus 130 is the number in the first period. You know, we're looking at a Vegas team that jumped out to a good start last night. They're playing second half of back-to-back. Vancouver hasn't played in a couple days here. You mentioned that motivation for the last game. Some of these guys are playing for contracts. Some of these guys might not be back with the team anymore. Some of these guys will. I think that they get off to a real good start in this one in front of their home crowd. Minus 130 is what I'm punching in the first period. We're betting a 20-minute play here. Vancouver to get off to a better start. And if you thought Vegas rested guys last night, well, they're sure going to rest guys as well here on the second half of a back-to-back. So I'm right there with you on this Vancouver side, but I'm just more so going to focus in on the first and opening 20 minutes of this game here for the Vancouver Canucks to get the job done at home. There's certain spots where you're like, you know what, this team is out of the playoffs. Doesn't matter for them. But I think the team that's out of the playoffs right now might have a little bit more incentive than the team that's already in the playoffs. So we'll see what's going on. Big reminder for you guys at home, make sure you are letting us know what you are betting in the comment section below. We always want to hear from you guys. We're very curious what you guys have as far as props, sides, and totals and all that good stuff. And hey, we want to see you guys win as well. So we can always learn from you guys and learn from all the picks that you guys have and the bets that you guys find. So, Buster, it sounds like me and you were on the same page with a lot of stuff today, especially with who we're cheering for in the first game. So hopefully 7 hours from now can go really fast. And it can be almost game time because I'm going to be thinking about it all day long. But I mentioned that it is Fill Your Cart Day. What kind of stuff do you have going on at WagerTalk?
Yeah, as you said, Andrew, I do have a nice playoff deal going on. The NHL and Major League Baseball that WagerTalk has put out for me. When you buy our NHL playoff package, you get a 30-day MLB all-access pass for free. So that's a savings of $189. So you head over to WagerTalk.com and go to Don Buster, and you can check that out. We had a nice little run going in Major League Baseball right now. Looking forward to the NHL playoffs, that's for sure. It's been a rough season. Full disclosure, been a rough season. The overtime games have been killing me. The shootouts have been killing me. Thank God there's no shootouts in the playoffs, so at least I got a little chance now. But yeah, head on over this site for a huge NHL playoffs. And I'm with you, Andrew. I will be playing a little bit more prop plays in the playoffs because guys go on big runs. A couple of years ago, I had Marshall. So he went on like a 13-game run. I bet him 4% almost every game. We had a big payday that year, 2023 years ago. So player props is something you can really look into when the playoffs, NHL playoffs start. So as for our show play today, we're going to go back to the game of the Detroit, New Jersey game because I do think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think there's going to be all kinds of offense. And we're going to play Mort's Sider over 1.5 shots on goal, and it's minus 130. Sider's on a 3-game streak on the over. And on the season, he's done very well on these shots on goal. He's 61% on the season over his 1.5, so that's pretty good. And he's also on the power play. He's on the second power play unit, and he's one of the top guys. He gets a lot of ice time, and like I say, I like a high-scoring game in this, and I think Sider will get his points. So that's Moritz Sider over 1.5 shots on goal for your show play for today. Andrew, it's been a pleasure these last couple of days. I know it's going to be a rough few more hours. I'm already looking over and eyeing a little bit of a bottle of tequila to calm my nerves a little bit. And going to look forward to this in a good way with a positive attitude. And I might put a call into Brindamore and say, listen, sit your guys, play them tomorrow. So we'll have to see what happens. Thanks again, Andrew. Cheers to everyone out there. Best of luck with all the playoffs. Best of luck with tonight with all your plays. Have a great day, and go Habs, go.
I love the energy. And you know what? For people watching out there, hopefully you can see the passion that both of us have. We keep our biases out of our picks. In fact, I probably do too much because I very limitedly go on the Canadiens, even though they've had a pretty good run the past couple months here. But all you guys watching, Buster and I love hockey. We live and breathe it. We're watching games every night, and we cannot wait for the playoffs. We cannot wait for the postseason. We have games to bet on tonight, however, and also player props to bet on for tonight. And I'm going to take Uri Slafkovsky over 1.5 shots on goal. Buster gave out a player prop, and we talk about some of these 1.5s for some of these players. It's so much easier to get to 2 than 3 or 4. And, you know, with how much distribution has to be out there, getting to 2 is a lot easier. You can get to 2 in one shift. And I think right now for the Canadiens, with Demidov coming over from the KHL, with Suzuki, Caulfield, Laine, all these shooters, the attention will be off a guy like Slafkovsky. And I think he gets 2 shots on goal tonight. I think he steps up. I think he knows how important he is to the team tonight. And that price is only minus 120. Guys, as of yesterday, after the win with Calgary, not only number one going back to the preseason, but now number 1 at the website in the regular season in the NHL. If you guys want 25% off the rest of my season plus the playoffs, Basket 25. Fill your card up. Join me for the rest of the hockey season. As you guys know, I don't do college basketball. I don't do college football. I'm low volume in the MLB. We are locked in with NHL right now. Number 1 this year in the NHL across the board, and hoping to keep things going through the playoffs. So join me, guys, over at WagerTalk.com with promo code BASKET25. All right, guys, hit the like button on the way out, and we'll see you next time right here on Puck Time.